Hi, I'm Sarah Ahmed, an attorney at Legal Aid of Northwest Texas.
And I'm Rutledge, and I'm also an attorney with Legal Aid of Northwest Texas, and we wanted to provide you some updates regarding renters' rights in Texas.
As many of you may be aware, the federal eviction moratorium ended on July 31st, 2021. However, because of a push from tenant organizations and the Biden administration to extend it, the CDC has now set a limited eviction moratorium that will end on October 3rd, 2021. This moratorium only covers non-payment of rent cases in counties that are at a substantial or high risk of COVID transmission. You can find out if your county is at substantial or high risk of COVID by going to the CDC website, which we will list on our Legal Aid website, and you will also find at the end of this video. The new CDC order does not release a tenant from their responsibility to pay rent. This order applies to only pending evictions and evictions filed after the date of this order, but does not apply to evictions that have been completed. If you gave your landlord a CDC declaration in the past, you do not have to deliver a new CDC declaration. But if you have not provided your landlord a CDC declaration and are behind on rent, then you should do so immediately. A CDC declaration form can be found at the cdc.gov website or by contacting your local legal aid office.
In the meantime, some states have moved to offer protections that will stay in place when the federal protections end, including Texas. To address the mass wave of evictions, Texas offers the Texas Rent Relief Program, also known as TRR. The TRR program is funded by federal emergency rental assistance money that pays qualifying tenants rent to prevent their eviction. If you qualify, TRR can pay up to 12 months of back rent, the current month's rent, and 2 future months of rent for a total of 15 months. TRR can also pay past due utility bills. Either the tenant or the landlord can apply for assistance, but a landlord does not have to participate for a tenant to receive the rental assistance. If the landlord applies, however, the tenant must participate in the TRR program. Landlords can get their rent deposited directly into their bank account or have a check sent directly to them. Tenants can apply for this assistance as soon as they know that they will not be able to pay their rent. If you make your application with TRR and an eviction is later filed against you, you will need to contact TRR and let them know the judge's name, the court case number, so TRR can fast track your application. You can apply for this assistance at www.texasrentrelief.com. You can also look for emergency rental assistance in your area by going to our website at www.landwidth.org/pandemic and disaster resources, or by visiting www.consumerfinance.gov/rent-help.
Additionally, for those tenants and landlords who have non-payment of rent evictions pending, there is another program that can help called the Texas Eviction Diversion Program, also known as TEDP. TEDP is a program that requires the participation of both the tenant and the landlord. Both parties can either sign an agreement to participate or let the judge in their case know that they want to participate in the TEDP. The agreement means that the case will be put on hold for 60 days while the parties seek rental assistance from either TRR or a local rental assistance agency. The agreement also means that the eviction case will be made confidential, preventing the non-payment of rent status from being reported to any tenant agency or any other person. At any point during those 60 days, the landlord can ask for an extension not to exceed another 60 days, or can ask the case be put back on the court's calendar to proceed with the eviction. If at the end of the first 60 days the landlord has not asked for an extension, then the case will be dismissed. If the landlord gets paid before the end of the 60 days, the parties can let the judge know so that the case can be dismissed. The parties can enter this program at any point after a lawsuit is filed, but before a writ of possession is issued. A writ of possession is a court order signed by a judge after a tenant has already lost the eviction case and has not timely appealed. It allows the constable or sheriff to remove the tenant and the tenant's property from the residence. In addition to the CDC order that we're talking about, another order to note is the 39th emergency order issued by the Texas Supreme Court. It includes some protections for tenants. The order requires that the judge hearing an eviction case ask the landlord if there are any pending applications for rental assistance. If the landlord has a pending application for rental assistance, then the case will be put on hold for 60 days, just as if the parties had agreed to participate in the TEDP.
So now I want to talk about lease violations, notice to vacate, and what an actual eviction citation or petition is. A lease violation is a document you receive from your landlord stating that you violated your lease agreement in some way. A notice to vacate is a document from your landlord telling you to vacate or leave the property within a specified amount of time. What that time is depends on what your lease agreement says. The time period can be as short as 24 hours, but is generally 3 days. In Texas, if your lease doesn't contain an amount of time that the landlord has to give you in a notice to vacate, then that time that they must give you is 3 days. It's important to know that just because you receive a notice to vacate does not mean that you have to move out of your residence. It also does not mean that the landlord can throw you or your property out without getting a court order to do so. It simply means that if you do not move out by the time stated in the notice, then the landlord can file an eviction against you. In Texas, the landlord cannot file that eviction without first giving you written notice to vacate to everyone that is a tenant on the lease agreement. Once an eviction lawsuit has been filed with the court, a constable or sheriff will serve an eviction citation to you that includes information on why you are being evicted and the date of your hearing. This is called the eviction citation or petition. If you receive a notice to vacate, get behind on rent, or have any issues with your landlord, we suggest that you seek help immediately. If you want to look for rental assistance, you have several options. You can go to our website at www.landwood.org/pandemic and disaster resources for information on local rent resources. You can visit the consumerfinance.gov website, or you can go to texasrentrelief.com. You can also apply for legal aid assistance by calling us at 855-548-8457 or 817-339-5391.
Thanks for watching, and we hope that this information has been helpful.